guys, welcome back to the Mind of a Clueless Girl. Just to start off, I'm going to do a quick little apology because I know I said at the start of the last episode I'm going to try and make this short, and it ended up actually being longer than the episode prior. So sorry about that. Listen to the whole thing. Great, I'm glad. I hope you enjoyed it and you weren't falling asleep halfway through. If you didn't, that's fair enough. I do not blame you. But OCD to me is quite a big part of my life, so it was hard for me to kind of like narrow down everything, and also I didn't really want to miss out things. I didn't want to like misinform you or not share everything with you, because the point of this is to be completely open and honest and share my personal experience with OCD. And it's not just going to be about OCD at all. This week isn't about OCD remotely, but it is a big part of my life, and I want to be completely open and honest and hopefully help people who might be suffering. And so I want to give everything. I want to share every little detail that I can. I feel comfortable with sharing because I think it's important, because I don't feel like I should be hiding, because that's just giving people the idea that do have it, that they should be afraid or like not concerned, but like, you know, worried that people are going to judge them about it. But speaking of judgment, I am very happy. I finally, after like a year or more, plucked up the courage and made an Instagram for my YouTube and kind of linked it to this, and everyone I know basically now knows about it that followed me on Instagram. So that was a big thing for me. A lot of people might be like, well, that's not that big of a deal. But for me, I was like, the whole of yesterday, I was sick to my stomach. I wanted to throw up. I think I nearly did throw up at one point, because I was just so anxious, because I've just been so afraid of people like laughing at me or judging me or being like, oh my god, what a weirdo. Like, what does she think she's doing with her life? Like, she's not going to get anywhere with her life by doing that. And I realised life's too short, and I'm going to do what makes me happy, and no one else's opinion should stop me from doing that. And if anyone wants to behave like that, then they're not worth my time, and they clearly are not happy with their own life if they care that much about what I'm doing. And you know what? I didn't get any hate. I mean, some people that I know didn't follow me, and that's fair enough. Like, they don't have to. But a lot of people I do know did follow me and were really nice about it and sent me really lovely messages. And people I didn't expect to follow me followed me and were really sweet. So yeah, it means the world to me. It really does. And it made me really happy, and I'm in a really good mood now, and I just feel like a massive weight has been lifted off my shoulders. I can just be who I am, and I feel like I've been hiding who I am. I've been too afraid to just be me, and like, fuck that. Honestly, fuck that. So if you guys listen to this, thank you for listening to this. I love you all, and yeah, let's get cracking. So this week, if you listen to my last episode, I think I mentioned it at the end of the last episode, I want to talk more about body confidence and like self-confidence issues and like self-love and all that jazz. I have notes in my notebook for this, so I'm going to try and run through them, and hopefully it will not be as long as last week's, because it's too long. It's just too long. I don't have enough of a following yet for me to be putting out episodes that long. I feel like I can't warrant it just yet, but then I can do what the fuck I want at the same time. So this week, we're not going to do about OCD or anything like that. Basically this week I want to talk about another thing that I've struggled with, which I think most girls struggle with at some point in their life, and guys. Like, there's no discrimination against guys. Most people, let's say, have probably struggled with this, and it's just body confidence, being self-conscious and like loving yourself and all that kind of jazz. And by no means do I love myself. Like, I'm far from that. I'm very far from that, actually. But I'm working on it. I really, really am. And I just want to like talk about how I've struggled with it, what I went through, and like things that I try and do to help. Like I said, I am by no means confident in myself at all. Like, at all. I'm really, really, it's a part of me that I need to work on. But I just want to talk about it. Just, again, by talking about it, if someone can relate to me, it might make them feel better. It might make them feel not so alone. It might, maybe some things I say that help me and that I do maybe help you. But I'm not speaking from a point of view that I now love myself so much and like I'm completely like confident and blah blah blah. I'm well far off that. I'm way far off. I'm really far off that even. Like, for example, I started this YouTube, Instagram, and I know now that I'm going to have to probably post like every day, and for like a YouTube channel I'm probably going to have to post pictures of myself, like most influencers, which I really don't like classing myself as an influencer, but most people who do YouTube and whatever end up taking, like, it's not a food Instagram, it's about me, so I'm probably gonna have to take loads of pictures of myself, and it's not very me to do that, so I'm gonna feel really insecure and conscious about it, and like going to locations, and I feel like people will be watching me all the time, and I'll worry that people will be like, oh my god, why is she posting so much about herself, like how vapid, how vacuous, like also stop, you're annoying me. And it's just like, no one actually cares, like no one cares, everyone, I learned that, but from yesterday. And if they do, it's in a positive way usually. Like, and if they do in a negative way, then honestly, they need to get a life and like focus on themselves rather than other people. So it's just like, what I'm trying to say is the self-love is not quite there yet. Some people don't give a shit what people think. They will take those pictures, they won't have a second thought, they'll put them on their Instagram and blah blah blah, and like not even care. And on my personal Instagram, I don't give a shit, but on this one for some reason I feel like a lot more stressed about it. But so I've got a lot to work on, but it's just like I said, I'm going to talk about what I've gone through, what I go through, blah blah blah, and then kind of what I do to sort of help ease that, and I hopefully will continue to, and what I plan on continuing to do. So let's just have a chit chat about it, because this is Mind of a Clueless Girl after all, and I'm pretty clueless. Let's just ramble on for an hour and bore you to death. So, body confidence. Body confidence is probably something I've struggled with for most of my life. Like now, if you were to ask me to pinpoint a time when I start feeling insecure or caring how I look or whatever, I can personally tell you. I don't remember, and not because it was so early on, just I actually just don't remember. I don't think I cared when I was like probably up till the age of like 11, 12, which is a lot later than some people, especially nowadays, which makes me even more sad. But I think luckily my generation just missed the whole like being consumed by social media, and so many kids who are like now 15, 16, like all they know, like I have a friend who said her sister who's like 15, all she knows is social media, and she hasn't known a life without it, which I personally, as much as I love social media, obviously, or I wouldn't be doing all of this, there are sides of it that we can't deny aren't great, and at such a young and impressionable age, you don't know necessarily how to differentiate between what's real and what's edited. Even I, sometimes I'm like, oh my god, they're so beautiful, blah, 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 and I have to stop and think, hold on, realistically, no one looks like that. Like, no one looks like that. And yeah, of course, there are some very beautiful people in this world, and they do look like that, but like, no one's skin is that perfect, or, you know, there's telltale signs, but like, kids at the age of like 10, 11, they don't know necessarily. Some of them might, but they don't know. So like, for them, that's all they know, and they're at the age of like 7, 8, seeing all these pictures of these like people, and they're starting to try and be like them at the age of 8, and they're worrying about their body and all that so young. And I'm sure people from my generation did also, you know, have body issues and dysmorphia and all that at a young age. I would say mine started pretty young, but like not 8, 9, it was more like, I would probably say 12-ish, I don't know. I think when it happened for me, I guess kind of linking it back to my OCD, is when I was around like 12. I think what happened is I was quite overweight before then, so basically up until the age of like 9 I was very skinny, almost too skinny, and then I think 9 or 10 I went on holiday with my dad, and my mum wasn't there, and he fed me a lot of food. He just didn't care what we ate, he just didn't. And I came back, and obviously I don't really remember this, I was 9, 10, I didn't really care, and my mum was like, you were literally, like, I didn't recognise you, you had gained so much weight. Not that she cared, but she cared about our health, obviously. I wasn't really insecure then, not from what I remember, I didn't really care, like, it didn't affect me, it didn't faze me, it didn't make me not want to hang out with people, or like, I didn't really care what I wore. But then I think when I started developing like my OCD, and I was like really becoming insecure and like just a recluse and so ashamed of who I was and all that, I think that's when all my insecurities started to kind of like surface, and that's when it all kind of started to fall into place of like me being insecure and all this, and hating my body and hating who I was and blah blah blah, just because I was just so insecure about everything. And I think my OCD and like feeling weird because of that just kind of triggered everything and made me feel like shit. So that's when it all kind of happened, which is weird because I actually lost so much weight from having my OCD at the beginning, because I was just so anxious that I just didn't have any appetite. And yeah, so I don't really know exactly when it all started, but like it was probably around then. The thing is as well, like over the years past that point, I don't actually think until recently I realised that how early of an age I started dieting and how early of an age I started worrying about my weight. Because like I don't know if you get this, but when I think back to when I was younger, I imagine myself as a lot older than I actually was at that time. Like I think, oh, I must have been 15 then when I was actually like 13 or so. Like I forget and I think I was a lot older. And then I look back at it and I was like, wait, actually, I was really young to have been dieting already and to already be worrying about my weight. So it did happen quite early on. I was like, when I lost the weight after the OCD, I was obviously still a little bit chubby. I wasn't like skinny or really slim or whatever. And I would go on all these diets, like a Dukan diet, at the age of like 13, which I lost a lot of weight, but you shouldn't, like, I wouldn't recommend at the age of 13 to go on these like diets, which realistically I wouldn't recommend any person going on these diets, because I think unless you're doing like calorie counting or just being healthy or whatever, these diets, yeah, they're a quick fix, but one, I don't particularly think they're healthy, and two, they don't last. Like if you can lose weight that quickly, you're going to gain it that quickly. I think that's how I look at it. If you lose that much weight in a week, you're going to gain that much weight the next week if you go back to eating what you're eating. Like if you go back to what you were eating before. Whereas if you do like calorie counting and stuff, like obviously do it the right way and don't do it obsessively, then you can kind of maintain that and keep that long term, if that makes sense. But I think you've got to do whatever works for you, because like a lot of people don't like doing calorie counting because obviously mentally that affects them, because they become like obsessive over like how many calories they have in a day, which you'd think I would because of my OCD, but like actually things like eating disorder and stuff, even though I've always been body conscious and had body dysmorphia, I've never ever had that. So I don't think that would, sometimes I get obsessive over the calories I have in a day, definitely, but not to the point where like it really, really affects me. So I find calorie counting works best for me anyway, but it might not for some people. Anyway, off topic now. I've completely gone off topic. But yeah, weight's one thing that I've always struggled with, and I've always been conscious of, and I've always cared about like my appearance, my body, and like always been, that's why I don't really like people taking pictures of me, because I just feel like my body doesn't look the same as anyone's else, or I look weird, or you know, I'm really insecure about my body. Even though like I know I'm not fat, I see myself as big, I see myself as not looking nice in pictures and all this, and like it's got better, but I still have it to quite a great degree, and I don't think it helps. I know a lot of people who aren't, but I'm definitely one of those people that is affected by the people I see on social media. That's why I have unfollowed a lot of people, like the Kardashians, for example. I refuse to follow them anymore because they're all fake and give such a bad idea of what, you know, body image should be, and like promote things like waist trainers, which is so dangerous for you. So why would I want to follow and support something like that when they're, you know, showing 12-year-olds at an impressionable age, go get a waist trainer and you'll look like us, when realistically you won't, because it's editing and literally like Botox and surgery and shit. Like it's all fake. No one's body looks like that, and I'm sorry, but no one can tell me otherwise. So like yeah, so I stopped following people like that, but obviously I still follow some people that look a certain way, and it does affect me. So I just have to kind of take myself away from it sometimes and just be like, okay, this isn't real. It's not to pull those people apart, but it's just to like make you have more realistic view on life. And like, I'm not saying that I'm super confident and, you know, I don't look at myself in the mirror and hate what I look at. I still do. But like, it's got better now that I kind of take myself away, or like have removed, like stop following people who really do not add anything to my life and make me feel like shit. Which, to be fair, the Kardashians never really did, because I always knew that it was very fake and I wouldn't aspire to look like them anyway, because I don't particularly think they look very nice, apart from Kendall, but even still, she's going down that route too. But like, I still don't want to support something that supports waist trainers and stuff that aren't actually healthy, and make out that they're like, they do all this by doing those stuff when we all know it's because of money and Botox and injections and editing. That's another story. I'm not going to keep ranting on about the Kardashians as much as they irritate me. But yeah, aside from, you know, this is quite hard for me to talk about because I now know people who I know are probably going to listen to this, but aside from my body, I have always felt very insecure. I've always felt very insecure about my face and everything. And like, I think it's because I've just never felt pretty enough. I always compared myself to my friends, and I still do to an extent, and I really try not to. But I always have. I've always felt like, the one that's never picked, or the one, like, I've never. Thing is, I think it's because obviously I've grown up in England, and most of the people around me are very typically English looking, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But it's the kind of blonde hair, blue eyes, whatever. And I've always felt really foreign looking, which obviously I do look foreign because I am. But like, I always felt really out of place and always felt really unusual. And like, people used to always comment on it and be like, well, you're not, they still do, like, you're not English. Like, where are you from? You're not English. Which before I used to get really upset. Now I kind of like, I've learned to love it because I've learned to be like, well, yeah, I'm different and that's fine. And I like that. Like, but in the past I used to hate it. I was like, no, I'm English, and people were like, well, you're obviously not English, like, where are you from? And like, I've always been really insecure. The main insecurity for me is my nose. I've always been really insecure about my nose, and I've got numerous comments about it in the past where guys have been like, I've never seen a nose that big on a white woman before, or like, people have commented on it before. That's the worst one I've had, but other people have commented on it before. And yeah, fair. I have a big nose and I hate it, and I do plan on getting a nose job at some point in this next year, even though I did just go to a nose surgeon and he literally went to me, your nose is perfect, like, don't change it. You're just gonna, like, it's not gonna really improve much. I really don't think you should do anything. You're like unusual and it suits you and blah, blah, blah. And I was just like, nah, this conker is leaving this town. I'm not saying that you should, if you have a big nose, get it removed. There's nothing wrong with big noses. Big noses are beautiful. I just want to get mine removed because I'm insecure about it. And I wouldn't say, listen, one thing I would say about surgery is I'm all for people getting surgery if it makes them happy. But be honest about it. If you're like a celebrity or whatever, and people are like, have you had lip fillers? Have you done this? And you turn around and say no, I think that's wrong, because like, that's giving them the idea that you like everyone's perfect, when actually they would probably respect you and like you a lot more if you were just honest. And two, I would only do it if you really, really know you want to do it, and not just because, some guy, or like because everyone on social media has these perfect little noses, or like whatever, I think you need to do it when you've really, really thought it through. And I've wanted this since I was like 10. So I think I've thought it through enough, and I still may not go through with it. I may go to another surgeon and they're like, literally, look, this is what we can do. And I'm like, okay, no, I don't like that. Then what's the point? What is the point? Like, I don't hate my nose, but I don't love it. Anyway, I keep going off on a tangent. But yeah, so I've always been like quite self-conscious of my body, of like how I look. I've never felt pretty. I've always feel like I'm not the pretty one in the group, which shouldn't matter. I shouldn't care. But because I'm just so insecure all the time, I always like compare myself to other people. I always think I'm like, not attractive or whatever. And when your friends are like, you're so pretty, blah, blah, blah. And in your head, if you are insecure, you kind of think, well, you got to say that, you're my friend, And it's annoying sometimes because I wish I could see what other people supposedly see, but I just don't. And I have got better, but like, I go through phases, which I think everybody does, where you feel good about yourself and you don't. So it's a learning curve, and I would love to be to that point where those days where you don't feel so good don't happen that often, and you're confident, or you're confident enough in who you are and everything, and that's great. And that's something I am very much working towards, because like, there's so many things. Like, I never used to be insecure, but I get really insecure now about my skin, and like, I have loads of like holes and like marks in my face from like, probably when I broke my arm, to be honest. My face planted the ground, so fair enough. I'm very lucky that is all I have from that. But probably from scarring from acne or whatever as well, and like, that makes me really insecure. I used to be really insecure about my veins. I got those removed, but like, there's a point where you just have to kind of accept it, and I'm trying to get there. Obviously, if you want to get stuff removed, and if I have the money in the future, I will try and get scarring removed, but like, as soon as I remove that, I will probably find something else to fixate on. So I think there has to be a point where you just have to be like, this is who I am, and I should learn to love who I am. And something I am definitely like learning to improve. 100%. I've got so much better. Like, if I hadn't, I wouldn't have probably finally got the courage to do all of this with like my YouTube, which you might be wondering like, well, what's that got to do with body confidence? But it's there. But like, what I mean is, even still there, like, I get funny at the idea of showing my whole body in a video, because I just don't want people to see it. There's nothing wrong with it, but like, I just don't like it. So it's bad. It's something like I said, I'm working on, and if you feel the same, well, we can work on it together. So, and like I said, I think social media doesn't help, and it's almost like a disease sometimes where like you'll deliberately look at all these pretty girls and just be like, oh, why don't I look like them? And I know so many people who just don't, and I literally envy them so much because I wish I just didn't, but you know, a lot of us do, a lot of us don't, but a lot of us do, and it is what it is. And like I said, I think it's just sad that obviously the younger generation haven't had any kind of away time from it. Like I've had time. When I was a kid, didn't have social media. It wasn't a thing, so I didn't have to worry about it. You know, it's only since like 2015 I would say that Instagram became such a thing. I mean, I've just picked a random year. I have no idea, but like it's not been that long of a period of time that Instagram's been this kind of like place where people post, you know, all these pictures of themselves that are really high quality and really over edited and like airbrush and everything like that. I don't think it's been that many years. I remember when Instagram first became a thing, and I remember you'd post like grainy pictures of like food or like, I don't know, but if you look back on my old Instagram, all the filters, people would use all the filters that were really bad. Like it wasn't a thing where people got insecure as much, I would say. Like it's now a lot worse because obviously people use it to promote themselves, and they have pictures that are done on professional cameras by professional photographers, but people assume straight away they did that on their iPhone, they look that good all the time, and plus they've edited them and, you know, face tuned them, made themselves look slimmer. Not everyone, I'm not saying everyone does this, but a lot of people do, and I think more than not. And I think it's just sad for the younger generation because that's all they know, whereas for my generation, we didn't have that when we were so young, and yes, it still affects some of us now, but at least we're a bit older and a bit more like aware, and it probably doesn't leave as much of an impression. And for someone like me, where it has left quite a big impression at an older age, it makes me think, wow, if it's affecting me this much, how's it affecting these younger kids? But then there's a plus side. I feel like I'm talking about my bloody dissertation here, because this is literally what I did my dissertation on. I did how Instagram affects body image. I do love social media in other ways, and there are so many things about social media that are great, and that's something I'm about to dive into now that has definitely helped me get better with my body confidence and like my appearance, and is helping me to continue to improve it. And if I ever see a picture, or like TikTok for example is pretty bad, again, both ways it can be good, it depends what you follow, but like it can make you feel bloody insecure when you see a lot of the people on there. But if I maybe see a post or something that makes me feel insecure, then these things that I'll explain in a minute do make me feel a lot better. So I think like it's definitely helping me improve, and I think if people don't do this, and people do feel like me, then I really recommend it. Like I highly recommend it. And if you do, then great, you one step ahead of me then. But so basically, for the part of Instagram and just social media in general that I like, is I do think it's helped promote a lot of, you know, a lot of other things in other communities, and some people have like used it to promote body positivity and kind of spread awareness that, you know, bodies don't always look like that, or bodies look like this, but they also look like this. And like there's this one woman that I follow, I'm going to try and find her name, I think it's like Danielle Mercer, I'm going to have to find it, Danae Mercer. I'm going to tag them in the description so you guys can go follow these people. But I follow this woman called Danae, is that her name? Danae Mercer. Sorry if I'm saying this totally wrong. And she literally posts, she'll post things like Insta versus reality, and like I'm like this but I'm also like this, and cellulite's real, and this is a woman's body but this is also a woman's body, and it's showing like a woman really posed and really airbrushed, and then like a woman with cellulite, and like, you know, this is me at 8 a.m. and this is me after one bite of bread and a bit of bloating. Just it kind of shows what bodies, you know, actually look like, and not what you see on social media where people are posed, where people are positioning themselves in the best way possible, where people are editing. Like I watched a video the other day and this girl was like showing how she edits a photo, which props to her for like actually being honest. And I don't necessarily agree with people over editing, but like I also get people themselves have insecurities, but if you're honest about it, then you do you. So she was literally like making her nose smaller and making her thighs smaller and her waist smaller, and like she looked beautiful in the picture before, but I was just like, oh, by posting that, people think that's real, and it just really aggravates me. Like, for example, I don't mean to call out people, but I'm not going to say a particular name, but there's someone who gets a lot of hate, who's pretty famous. Well, I don't know, she's quite famous. I think she's famous among the younger community, and she always says that she doesn't get lip fillers, and she says like her waist is naturally that tiny. I'm sorry, no one's waist is that small because you need to fit bloody organs in your body. And there are other photos of her, music videos of her, where like her waist isn't that narrow, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with her waist. She's still got a very slim waist and still very petite, but like, don't lie about it. Don't say, no, that's how my waist looks. Okay, fair, you're insecure, but think about what you're doing to the people that follow you. And don't say, oh, well, it's not my fault, blah, blah, because you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly who kind of, like, who follows you. And why do you want to make people feel insecure? Like, especially when you're someone who talks about, like, making people feel better or whatever. And that's one. And the fact that she always says that she doesn't have lip fillers when it's so bloody obvious, and then gets hate and gets upset about it. Like, just be honest. People don't give a shit. Get all the lip fillers you want. Just be honest. That's what is so infuriating, when people lie. No one cares what you do with your body as long as it makes you happy. Most people are all for it, and the people who aren't need to get a life, and you know, it's not their body, so they need to get over it. But people who lie, it's the people who lie or promote things that are false. And then, like, so what I mean, for example, with Kardashians, they say it's like a waist trainer, when that's, one, dangerous, and also two, not really why they're so slim. Like, that's what irritates me. The people who promote things that aren't accurate and potentially harmful. People who promote like beauty products that actually is not the reason their skin's flawless, is because they've got layers of makeup on, or they've got a beautifying filter on. And it's like people who like say that they look a certain way and when they don't, and like they lie about how they look. It's these people who like promote things that are inaccurate that annoy me, not the people who actually get the work done and stuff. That's not my issue. Do whatever's going to make you happy, but just be honest, because that's not fair on other people. And don't think about the older people that follow you, but think about the young people that follow you. Like, come on. Anyway, that's my rant over. So yeah, she's one person I follow. Danae Mercer, I don't know. Another person who I have to give, and I'll link her down below, and someone else as well, I can't remember his name, and I'm not going to go look for him now, but I'll link him in the description. But the main person that started me on like finding all these people who are more positive and all this and all that is, I think you pronounce her name as Stephanie Lang. I've never seen her before until about a few months ago. I didn't know who she was, and she just came up on my YouTube like recommended, and she put a video out saying something like, why you'll never look, oh, what was it? It was like, why you'll never look like a beauty guru. And then she got me hooked on that, and I like started following her, and then she put other videos out like, why you'll never look like an Instagram model, and why you'll never look like this. And honestly, like, a lot of the things she said I kind of already knew, but it kind of like really brought it to my attention like fully, and there are parts that I didn't realise as much maybe, or was a bit more like naive to. And the thing, I'm not going to explain everything she says. I'm going to link the videos, and you should definitely go watch them. But it's like, it's true. She goes on about like, it's how you pose, it's lighting, it's editing. Like, after people have done all of this, and she was like, it does not one picture, there are 1,000 pictures that people take and edit and whatever. Like, no one looks like that first off straight away. No one looks like that. And people think that it's the case, and no one looks like that. So of course people are going to have insecurities about their body. After watching that video, it kind of made me feel a little bit better. And then watching some of her other videos like about the Instagram models and all that, and then when watching that first video, it kind of came up in like when you go on YouTube and you're watching a video and it comes up with more recommended videos that you should watch. It came up with this guy, and I really can't remember his name. I'll try and find the video to link. And he was talking about, he's like, I think he said he studied like something to do with photo editing and was in photography, and so kind of could suss out what was edited and what was not. And obviously, like, we don't know how accurate these people are as well, but like, I'm going to trust a guy more who says his profession is that, to tell me whether something's edited or not, than someone who's selling that product to me or telling me I don't edit my pictures when it's evident they do. But like he brought to light something that I honestly did not realize, and I didn't know it was a thing. And this for me is scary. And I don't know. I spoke to people about this afterwards, and they were like, "Okay, I knew the other things, but I did not realize this was a thing." So I think this is a bit less like common knowledge, but a lot of people probably still know it. And like, I think he pulled James Charles up as an example, and I have no issues with James Charles. He seems like a nice guy, but and I get people have insecurities. Like I do get it. But it's just kind of a vicious cycle that these people have insecurities, so they hide them by putting filters on, and then then other people get insecurities because they see them and think they're perfect when they're not actually like that. It's such a chain reaction, and it's kind of scary. But like, he was explaining how, what was it? It was like Childs. I said that right. James Charles. I don't know how you fucking say his last name. James Charles. I've said Charles way too many times, and it doesn't sound like a word anymore, or a name, whatever I'm saying. He did like some kind of like sponsor video on his Instagram live. Yeah, it was an Instagram live, and he was like doing a kind of sponsor video for some skincare brand, and he was putting this like stuff on in his bathroom. And he was like, yeah, it's great, it makes my skin, something along those lines. And obviously you would never think in a million years that Instagram Live like, fair enough, photos and fair enough videos you might post on YouTube or whatever, it could be edited, because I know you can get filters for YouTube to make you look smoother. I personally am not going to pay for that, and I don't want to give that impression to people, but people do it, and fair enough again to them. But I didn't realise that was a thing until about a year ago. Well, not even a year ago, a few months ago. But fair enough with videos, fair enough with the photos. It seems more obvious. But on an Instagram Live, you would never think, well, I personally would have never thought you would be able to edit that because it's live, right? Like, how are you meant to edit something that's live? Well, apparently, there is this app that you can get. Again, can't remember what it is, but you can literally make yourself in live time, like on an Instagram Live, look different. You can literally make yourself look, like your face looks slimmer, your skin looks smoother, you can add makeup to your face. It's like an app that's created that you can even use for lives. Now that's scary. And the reason he was like, it's obvious that James Charles has used this, because I was like at first, well, how do you really know? Like, I feel like you're just pulling him apart because, people like to, for their own clout, be like, James Charles is doing this, so like this video, blah, blah. People do it, like, or they'll put it as thumbnail to make you click on the video when, like, it's not that at all. They're just, people see James Charles and click because it's James Charles, and people I hate when people do that, when they use other people for clout. But anyway, yeah, and the reason he showed this video of James Charles, and he was like, the reason I know he's using this filter is because when you use this filter, obviously, if you put anything in front of your face, it's going to get confused and start trying to recognize your hand or whatever else as the face. So your face is going to go all distort. Your face is going to morph back to what it actually looks like, and it's going to look weird, and it's going to glitch. If that makes sense. So he said you could tell with James Charles, and he showed the video, and it was so obvious, but if you weren't looking out for it, you probably would not have registered it, which is the scary part, is he was putting some of this wash on his face, and for a split second he put his hands over his face, and you could see his face get bigger, and then it got smaller again as soon as he moved his hands away. It like full on glitched. For a split second that you probably wouldn't have even noticed if like you weren't looking out for it. But like if you were looking out for it, it's so obvious. And that's a scary part. The fact that you can even edit an Instagram Live to make yourself look good and then promote something, be like, use this, you'll get really clear skin, when actually your skin's probably not that clear. It's all edited. And like, that's scary, and I didn't know that. So like, knowing stuff like this and educate myself more on stuff like this really helped, because it's like, wow, like, it's scary to think that much is fake and could be fake, but it's nice to know that, like, it makes you feel better about yourself. And it's not in a horrible way. Like, I feel like this sounds like, oh yeah, judge other people and put other people down to make yourself feel better. No, not at all. Not at all. But I think it's also important to, for people to point out what's real and what's not, because it is important. And I know some people aren't affected, so they don't care, but for the people who truly are affected, I think this kind of stuff is important. And then from that video, he mentioned a few Instagrams, which I'll also link below, that I follow, called like Celebrity False or whatever. And I kind of at first didn't want to follow them, because I was like, I feel like this is really picking apart celebrities. And I was like, I'm not for that either. Like, I don't want to make people who like when you think about paparazzi who deliberately post bad pictures of people that are taken at a really bad time to be like, oh my god, they look awful, this is what they really look like. Well, no, you've taken them at a bad angle deliberately. Like, that's not fair. But, like, I don't do it to be like, they're actually really ugly, like, they don't look like they're meant to look, whatever, like, they're ugly, so I'm fine. I don't do it for that. I do it just to show when I'm feeling a little bit down or whatever, to be like, yeah, they are beautiful, regardless. But it's not about their beauty, it's about the fact, like, no one's skin is flawless, no one's body is that skinny, like, whatever. A lot of it's editing, and just remember that no one actually looks the way that they're half the time being perceived as, because it's all editing, and you're never going to look like that without some kind of editing, really. And so it's not like me trying to be like, oh, I don't know, I can't think of a person now, but so and so is actually really ugly, is all editing. No, she's pretty either way, but it's obvious that her skin isn't that flawless. She's got acne, she's got pores in her skin. Everyone has pores in their skin, some more than others, but everyone has them. So, like, it's not to pull them apart, it's just to make them seem more real, and to make me realise that actually these people aren't all that different to me. Not like, some of them, yeah, models, of course they're beautiful, but, like, their skin and, like, their figure and everything like that is not that perfect. No one is. And so it just makes that more of a reality. And it kind of just gives me a bit of peace of mind. So definitely highly recommend watching these videos, and definitely highly recommend following these pages and just more body positive pages over, like, I don't know, like the Kardashians, or people, just anyone who, and I probably need to do this more than I have, but I have tried a bunch of them. I challenge you that anyone on your Instagram that you follow, and when you look at their pictures, you feel like shit. Nothing that they've done, it's not their fault. They're just living their life, but it's not hate to them. But if it makes you feel like shit, you're more important than them in the nicest way possible to yourself. So if you're following someone who makes you feel like shit every time you see their posts, then just unfollow them. Because I read something the other day or something that was like, as soon as they're not there, you're going to feel better, because realistically you're not going to remember them. You're going to forget about them after about a week. They're not going to be anything to you. And also, the less people you have coming up on your Instagram, like, page that are going to make you feel like that, the less you're probably going to feel like that, because it's not going to be constantly like push in your face every time you open like a social media app or something. I definitely need to do this more than I have, but I challenge you to do it as well, because I think it will work a world of good. And follow things that are more positive, follow things that, like, going to make you feel better, like We're the Urban, or whatever that, We're the Urban, is that We Are Urban? It's a really famous page that does really nice quotes and posts those, like, self-affirmation quotes and stuff, and, like, they make me feel really good when I read them and make me feel really motivated. So follow, if you're feeling absolute crap and it's because you follow all these people and it does really affect you, because I know plenty of people, like I said, who it doesn't affect, and that's great, but a lot of people do get affected. So if that's the case, just unfollow them and follow things that are actually going to make you feel good about yourself. I think that is so vital, because that's what I mean, like, social media can be bad, but social media can also be really good. It just depends how you choose to use it, and how you choose to, and what you choose to follow, and what you choose to, like, look at and indulge in on social media. Because obviously, if you're just following people who are, like, models and, like, in bikinis and, airbrush and glossy and perfect skin, your explore page is just going to be full of that as well. Whereas if you follow people who are more body positive, or things like positive affirmation or anything like that, your explore page is going to be more filled with that, and it's just honestly going to make you feel so much better. It really is. And I'm not preaching, because this is something I definitely have to work on too, but I'm saying let's work on this together. And I think that me watching these videos and following these things already has helped so much anyway. Because, like I said, with, like, my dissertation, let's talk about my dissertation a little bit, put it to good use. I basically picked, I think, like, 4 Instagrams. Was it 4? I can't even remember now, but 4 Instagrams, and I did 2 that kind of don't really promote, like positive ideals of what a body should look like, and two that do or are better at doing it. And I mean, unfortunately I couldn't, because it was like such a long process, I couldn't actually interview people, which is what I wanted to do and see how they got affected by social media. I just kind of looked into comments. And I mean, I think I would definitely have done it better now looking back at it, but at the time I wasn't so educated actually on social media and the falsities of it. But I think I chose Emily Ratajkowski, or I don't know how you say her last name. Ratajkowski, the model, whatever. And she's very beautiful. I have nothing wrong with her. And after reading her article recently, it's made me realise, like, she's a very intelligent, and she's very intelligent. It's more to her than just being a model. And I think people need to realise that models aren't stupid, vacuous people that have, like, no brains. And it just made me realise that actually, you know, you've got to kind of see the world from everyone's point of view before you judge them. Like, don't judge people and hate people just based on how they appear, which is another thing. Just because someone's beautiful doesn't mean you can just hate them because they're beautiful. Like, don't pull other people down because you feel insecure. That's not a way to go about it. You should learn to love yourself and improve yourself, because pulling other people down might make you feel good for a split second, but in the long run it's not going to do anything for you, and it's just making other people feel shit too. Yeah, so I picked two people, Emily Ratajkowski, and I can't even remember who the other one was. I can't remember for the life of me who the other one was. Christ, that's so annoying. But I picked someone else too, and people who are very like skinny and like perfect all the time, whatever, and comments which like, oh my god, I want to die, I look like this, I wish I looked like this, wow. And it's just sad to see, because realistically half is edited, and I was saying like that's the way social media can be seen negatively, because, you know, people see this and then start feeling shit about themselves and comparing themselves to these people, which actually most of their images are probably the 60th image that's been taken, or probably even more than that, and like over edited or whatever. And then I picked two other people. Again, I cannot really remember them, who they are. Again, I'll see if I can find them afterwards. Well, no, I remember one of them, but one of them was a lady that used to be a model, and she decided to create a page to, a bit like that woman I mentioned earlier. She kind of did like poses that make you look slimmer, and like this is how you actually look, and trying to be more positive and, you know, show that like all bodies are beautiful. And I definitely think in that sense social media has improved a lot, because it's allowed more people to be like, fuck this, like my body's beautiful, blah blah blah. And it's not the kind of, you know, curves are nice now. It's not like the 90s, early noughties, where unless you were like a size 0 and literally had no meat on your bones, you were not considered beautiful or could not be considered a model or whatever. So like in that sense I think social media has definitely helped, but I think like pages like this, like that's how you can promote body positivity. And like, for example, I mean, this one's a bit difficult, but I also did Winnie Harlow, because I was like, fair enough, yeah, she's very slim and she probably edits her photos loads, and she is a model, and people definitely will feel insecure looking at her pictures, but she's also brought to light like her condition, vitiligo, and shown that like there's nothing wrong with it. You shouldn't be ashamed, like why feel ashamed of having something like that. And it's shown that, like, you know, there was a time when people who suffer from stuff like that would not be considered to model. Like no one would take them to model because they weren't seen as perfect. And I think it's great that we've come that far, that people like that can, well, people like that, I don't even like saying that because they're no different from anyone, but people who might have, you know, slight differences because of like conditions, you know, why shouldn't they be a model? And there's this guy on TikTok who I follow who has, I think he has cerebral palsy, and like he makes me so happy, because anytime I see him on my For You page, I literally smile, because he's got like 6 or more million followers, maybe even more than that now. He's just signed a modelling deal with an agency because he's always wanted to be a model, but his condition for him he thought would never allow him to be. And this platform has allowed him to get like the followers and get the attention to actually sign a modelling agency. And like, think that would probably not have happened like 20 or 30 years ago. And we've still got so far to go, but it's incredible that like he's managed to do that, and it just makes me so happy. And in that sense, I really think that social media can be used as a positive tool, if that makes sense. So that, like, my issue is not social media necessarily, it's how people sometimes use it and how people are dishonest with the way they use it. So like, if you want to post pictures like, great, but like don't pretend. Like, oh my God, there was another girl as well who put a post. I'm not going to say names because I don't want to call people out because they may be lovely people. But she posted a picture of herself. So obviously face-tuned. It was ridiculous. Like, no one's skin looks that perfect. You can tell. There's a level that people go too far. And she went too far. And someone commented like, oh my God, you're flawless. Like, your makeup, your skin is so amazing. And she says something like, oh, just good lighting, or oh, just good makeup, or something like that. And I just felt like replying, being like, you mean editing? Like, don't lie. Either don't reply or be honest. Like, I hate when people lie. I really do. But yeah, so I've been ranting for ages and I've gone off on a massive tangent. But what to take away from this is I've suffered and still do suffer from body dysmorphia, and like, I'm very body conscious. I'm very insecure about how I look. I hate my nose. I hate a lot about me. But like, you know, actually opening my eyes more to what's real and what's not, and when I go on social media and watch and following more positive Instagram and following more positive TikTok accounts and following more positive YouTubers or watching videos like that to kind of open my eyes a bit more, really do help, and have helped me a lot, and just made me a little bit more aware. And even though I was aware of a lot of these things before, I kind of just like really shoved it in my face and been like, actually, no, wow, no, that is a lot. And afterwards, I literally went on so many people's pictures and zoomed in, because one of them was like, zoom into the pictures. If you don't see any pores, it's probably airbrushed. And literally, you could see virtually every person had airbrushed their picture. And I was like, wow, okay, this makes me realise that no one is perfect. No one has perfect skin. And what I'm seeing on my social media pages is not real. So I can't compare myself to something that's not real. So I'm not going to lie, I still do it sometimes. I'm not going to just like snap my fingers and like it's going to go away. If you're insecure, you're insecure. You need something you need to work on. But it's helped. And anytime I find myself like being like, oh, they're so beautiful, whatever, I kind of think, well, yeah, they are. But also, this has probably been edited to oblivion. This has probably been taken about 100 times before they pick the perfect photo. They're not going to always look like this, you know, like, not to pull them apart, because that's not what I'm trying to do, but it's to make you feel better and for you to realise that, like, not all this shit's real. And another thing that I do that my therapist taught me, which I really, really highly recommend, is, it feels weird and it's horrible and I really hate doing it, but it does help, and I need to do it more than I do, but it's every morning and every evening, look in the mirror and pick out things that you like about yourself and say them out loud to yourself, like, I like this, I like this, I like this. And it helps. I need to do it more than I do, and I hate doing it because it really cringes me out. But like, it cringes me out because it makes me uncomfortable, because I don't feel comfortable with who I am. So by doing that, it will cringe me out less, and I will become comfortable with who I am, if that makes sense. It's the same as like when I started with my YouTube. Like, when I used to take videos and practice doing videos of myself, I felt so weird filming myself on my own in my room on my phone, because I used to use a phone, now I use a camera, but I felt so weird. I was like, this is bizarre. Like, what? And when I started this podcast, I felt a bit weird. But after doing it for a while, it's just become second nature. I don't think anything of it anymore. So it's that kind of thing. So, yeah. So I would recommend trying to do that as well. If you're watching this and you don't have any body confidence issues and you knew all of this information, then great. Props to you. What's the word? I'm proud of you, and I would like to get to your level, but if you aren't like that and you do struggle and maybe you weren't aware of some of these things, and I hope this does help you in some way. I definitely have rambled on, but it's just these topics, I'm very passionate about them, so I could go on and on for ages, but I'll just edit out whatever doesn't make sense. I always worry that most of it doesn't make sense after I've like recorded, because I just want to be honest and real, and I don't want it to be too scripted or whatever. And I just find like when I start talking, I think about more stuff and I kind of go off on a tangent. So I'm really hoping that I can edit this enough to make it make sense. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you can take something away from this, something positive away from this, and to remember that everyone's different, everyone's body's different, everyone's appearance is different, and that's what makes them beautiful. Uniqueness is what makes people beautiful. No, you're never going to look like the people you want to look like, because you can't. Like, you are you and they are them. So embrace who you are. And I know that sounds so rich coming from me, because I really need to do that too. But like I need to work on it. We can work on it together is what I'm trying to say here. I'm not saying I've done all this, so do it, because I know from experience. No, I know that it's what needs to be done, and I'm very aware that I need to do it myself, but I think other people, if they're struggling, should do it too, and realize too, because like, everyone's beautiful, and I need to believe that I am, and so do you. So so that's this episode. I hope you enjoy, and hopefully it's not super long, which it probably will be, so I'm really sorry. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. If you want me to do any more like body positivity or whatever, then I'll happily do so. But I think next week I'm going to talk about something that I'm also really passionate about, and I actually said the other day that I kind of wish I had done my dissertation on, and I hadn't thought about it at the time. But it's about like, it's just something that really triggers me. And it's about like how TV shows kind of wrongly depict kids, and like how, you know, actors who are 30 are playing 15-year-olds and no one looks like at 15. So it's still about body image and misrepresentation and everything like that. But we'll talk about that more next week. Anyway, so that's this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope I didn't bore you to death, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Bye. it doesn't mean just because I need to work on it, other people shouldn't. Like, I need to work on it. We can work on it together, is what I'm trying to say here. I'm not saying I've done all this, so do it, because I know from experience. No, I know that it's what needs to be done, and I'm very aware that I need to do it myself, but I think other people, if they're struggling, should do it too, and realise too, because, like, everyone's beautiful, and I need to believe that I am, and so do you. So, yeah. I think next week, so that's this episode. I hope you enjoy, and hopefully it's not super long, which it probably will be, so I'm really sorry. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. If you want me to do any more, like body positivity or whatever, then I'll happily do so. But I think next week I'm going to talk about something that I'm also really passionate about, and I actually said the other day that I kind of wish I had done my dissertation on, and I hadn't thought about it at the time. But it's about, like, it's just something that really triggers me. And it's about, like, how TV shows kind of wrongly depict kids. And, like, how, actors who are 30 are playing 15-year-olds and no one looks like at 15. So it's still kind of around body image and, like, misinformation and, like, still about body image and misrepresentation and everything like that, because like, I think they have got better. Well, I thought they got better, and then I watched Outer Banks, and no hate to the cast. I'm sure they're very lovely, and the show, even though the acting's a little bit, it's a teen, like, it's very teeny, and I'm not a teenager anymore, but it's like light TV, and I watched it, and I will probably watch the second season, because it's easy, and, like, I don't mind it, and, like, this is nothing to do with the actors themselves. I'm not saying the actors are condoning this, or, like, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with the people themselves. I'm just saying I thought this misrepresentation had stopped or got better, and people were playing people close to their age, but it hasn't, because there are people in that show who are playing 12-year-olds who are 18. And I don't think that's, like, a good way of like, for a 13-year-old to think they should look that developed at 13 is not, no, you can't compare the two. I looked completely different at 13 to how I did at 18. So we'll talk about that more next week. Anyway, so that's this episode. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope I didn't bore you to death, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Bye.